from now. So yeah, there you go. So welcome everyone. We are live with Mr. Drew Hicks on the Kill Your Addiction show, and today is a very, very important topic. The importance of being a sober dad. There is a lot to be said on this topic, and what better person than Mr. Drew Hicks, a very loving father to two beautiful daughters, and he's going to really walk us through why it's important, maybe even go through the differences when you were not sober and now that you're a sober dad. Many things to talk about. Why don't you come on in and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get the show started.
All right. Well, my name is Drew Hicks. I am about 33 months clean. I'm a father, like you said, of two beautiful daughters, and I guess I could start talking about how I was in my active addiction as a father, and then I can bring that into my how I am in recovery as a father.
Yes.
And how recovery has been able to let me change as a person and as a father. So
sure.
First of all, my daughter Chloe, she just turned 13 years old. She was born in 2005. And then my youngest, Peyton, she's 5 years old. She was born in 2013. So, excuse me. During my active addiction, as you know, I was a very selfish person. Okay, I was very selfish, narcissistic, dirtball. And I gotta keep my language down because my daughter's over here laying on the couch next to me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and justify my actions because I was not a good dad. I was not a dad at all. And I've done many live videos with my daughter, and she will tell anybody that I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And not only was even when I was there, I didn't care. And I have to be very transparent with everybody watching me today. This disease that I carry, it came first. It came first, even before my own daughters. Even my daughters are the love of my life.
Yes.
That's how sickening this disease is that it takes away everything that we love, we hold true and good in our heart, and it turns it into something different in our brains. And so I was not there for her, for Chloe, the majority of her life. So she's 13 now. I mean, for 10 years of her life, I wasn't there. And one broken promise after another. And she has a story to tell too. And she has, as far as how I was as a father then and compared to the father I am now. I was an IV drug user for 22 years. I was active addiction for 25 years.
Heroin?
So no, I was a meth cocaine addict.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that one drug is worse than the other, or using a certain drug a certain way is worse than the other. But for me, when I went from smoking coke and smoking meth, I was a little bit more tolerable than what I was when I started shooting it. Okay, I turned into a different kind of person. I crossed a different threshold.
Yeah.
And even when I was smoking coke and smoking meth, I was able to distinguish the love I had for my family and my daughters better than I did when I started shooting it.
Wow.
Once I crossed over that line, I stayed in that dark place for over about 22 years. And during that 22 years, I acquired two beautiful little girls.
Wow.
Yeah, I was an absent father. That's what I call it. I was an absent father. Anybody can make a child.
Yeah.
That anybody can make a child, but it's a man who becomes a father. And that's what recovery has been able to give me back. I've always, and I'm not going to say that I always loved my children. I always knew I loved my girls. It's that attachment that you get from, it's that bond.
Yes.
But even during my active addiction, this disease and my drugs always came first. And coming into recovery, I carried a lot of guilt, shame, and remorse with me. As for not being there for Chloe and being there for Peyton. Uh, so it was really hard for me, to transition to retrain my thinking,
Yeah,
so to speak.
of course.
But uh, I knew that if I kept living in the past, that's exactly where I was going to stay. I had to learn I had to figure out how to forgive myself, because that's where it starts from. I was working on myself and working on me, and and in doing that, I was able to figure out that, hey, this dad thing's kind of cool. These little girls I got are kind of pretty awesome. And so I cherish my daughters to death. I can't, and there's some days, I sit there and I get in my head a little bit about how I was, back then compared to who I am today. But I have to dismiss those thoughts immediately, because I know if I don't, it's going to put me in a bad spot in my head. But I'm just not that man anymore.
Mm.
Okay. And I strongly want to tell any father out there, or a mother, when you get clean, you're going to have to dismiss those thoughts of how you used to be. Okay, if that's not who you are and that's not who you want to be, then don't be that person. We take recovery 24 hours at a time. Okay, and you're not. And Rome wasn't built overnight. And I knew that I wasn't going to be this rock star dad in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, it's taken me almost 3 years to get to the point where I'm at today.
Yes, exactly. Wow. And so many of women problems is because of an absent dad. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women that I know that I'm coaching in recovery always said they wanted their dad's attention. They wanted their dad to be around for them, to love them. So I really just want to impress upon everyone that being a sober, a present, a connected, a loving, a compassionate, a good role model is the most important thing that not only a woman but a man needs when they're growing up. You agreed with that now, don't you?
Most definitely. And this thing that I realized, and when I got into recovery, was that our children are so quick to forgive us. They want to
Ah,
forgive us. They're looking for any reason to forgive us.
mm,
Okay, all you have to do is show them that that's who you are. And all my daughter ever wanted from me, Chloe, my oldest, was my clean and sober presence. That's all she wanted. The gifts and all that stuff. That's just what it is. But me being part of her life day in and day out. Uh, and she's with me 24/7. She's over here sleeping on the couch. You guys see her over there trying to hide from me. You
yay.
know, uh, so she doesn't. If I'm not working, I'm at home with her and my other kid. And with Peyton. So uh, that's all she ever wanted. And that's all our children want, is us to be part of their lives. To feel love, to feel that connection from. And I strongly believe that there's a special connection from a dad and a daughter.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just me and thinking that, but we're connected now like no other. And I knew that I'm a firm believer that addiction is hereditary. Okay, I believe that addiction is hereditary, and I think that there could be a very good chance that I've already passed this on to my child. And that's why I have to stay vigilant, not only for myself and my own personal recovery, but I have to stay vigilant for her as well.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I can't expect that my daughter's going to take what this disease has done to me, and that be enough to keep her away from it.
Mm,
I'd be a fool for thinking that would happen. That that's the way it's going to happen, because she's going to be around friends. She's going to be around, and Dad's not always going to be around. You know,
yeah.
and even though I've struggled with this disease for 25 years, that's not going to be enough for her. When I'm not there. Because so I'm very transparent with my daughters about addiction. I'm very transparent about just about everything. I'm too blunt.
Yeah.
My daughter calls me too blunt. But I have to be, because uh, she's at the age now where she's seeing drugs in school herself. And she knows what I do for a living. She knows what Dad does for a living. She knows. And if I asked her the other day, do you know what I do for a living, Sissy? She goes, yeah, you do. You save lives, Dad. That's what you
Oh.
do. And that's my. It's like, oh, I love you. What do you want?
Ah! Exactly. So walk us through the main difference. Oh, before that, I just posted on your page, and it talks about it talks about it takes the journey to being a good dad goes from being a boy to being a
Yep.
guy, and then from being a guy to being a man, from being a man to being a better man, so that you can be a better dad. Is that
Mhm.
how it was for you? Did you have to let go of being a boy?
I'll give you a little bit of rundown about how I was raised. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was because we live our life, being a parent by how we were raised. Okay,
Sure.
that's how.
Yes.
I was adopted. Okay, early years of my life weren't so good. I was taken out of a very abusive family situation, and I was placed into foster care. And I was 4 or 5 years later down the road, I was adopted.
Right.
Now my mom and dad, Jack and Retha Hicks. I love you, mom. Um, uh, were if you would look up the ideal parent in the dictionary, you would see a picture of my parents. Okay, they were very. My house, I was raised in love. Okay, my story is different than a lot of addicts' story. I didn't come from inner city. I didn't come from a poor upbringing. I didn't come from abusive uh, mom and dad. I didn't, my mom and dad are not never drank in front of me in my life. I don't even think they've ever drank anything. There's no addiction. No, there's no alcoholism in my family at all.
But this is
I
your
didn't.
foster parents, though.
This is my foster parents,
Got it.
correct?
Yeah.
Later on, they adopted me later. So
Yes.
um,
Yes.
I didn't see anything bad growing up. It was my mom and dad were ideal parents. I was surrounded and blessed with love,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's how those are the that's how I was taught. I learned from my dad. If I could be half the father my dad was, then I know that I'm doing something amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how amazing my dad was. Uh, so that's how that's what I took into being a parent. Okay. Um, Although in the beginning part, of course, when Chloe was born, I was in my active addiction, and I wasn't thinking the way I'm thinking now. But when I got clean and I started putting my children before me and realizing that they were the most important things in my life, the the the, the way that my father raised me all came flooding back to me, because this
Oh.
is how dad did it. This is how my dad. This is what my dad do. There was times in my early recovery that I would call my father, and say, hey, you know, I'm good now, so I need some advice here, and my dad always said there's not a guideline written
Yeah.
to being a parent. It's trial and error. Trial and error.
Trial and
So
error. And was Chloe and Peyton um, appreciate or understood the errors and the trials that came through with you being in recovery?
Chloe most definitely was, and she would tell you, right. She would tell you today that she Peyton was too young. She's still young now. She's 5 still,
Yeah.
but I know that someday me being clean is probably all that Peyton's ever going to remember, and that's the way I want to keep it.
Yeah.
But Chloe got to see Dad at his worst, and now
Um,
she's by far the most appreciative of the whole situation. Uh, I've been able to bless her with being part of her life, like I said, with school functions, with her shopping, her shopping expeditions. Uh, just being part of her life growing up, and laughing and playing, and just figuring out that, hey, you know what, I have an amazing kid, man. She's very smart. She's not only, I didn't know this about her
ah,
until 3 years ago.
yeah.
I mean, seriously, I didn't know much about my children until about 3 years ago. I was just too consumed with my addiction.
Yeah.
uh, but my recovery has blessed me with the ability to want to know about them. I want to know everything about them. Now I want to know everything about them.
Yeah.
Now she's at the age now she's kind of like talking boys. I'm like,
Ah.
uh,
How old is she
because
again?
I
Sorry.
consider myself, even though Chloe's 13, I
Oh,
consider myself a new father because I've only been 3 years clean.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not prepared for boys.
No.
Get the heck, no. I don't think I'll ever be prepared for boys.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. Oh my gosh. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, huh?
Oh my, definitely, yeah, definitely.
Which you probably don't want to cross, but nevertheless,
No, no, no.
it's
Definitely don't want to cross that bridge.
sure. So let's go back. So to being a great dad, I'm reading an article by Hazelden Clinic, and it's talking about um, that for people, sobriety is the cornerstone, as we know, of being a good father, and it's really important for you to prioritize your routines, your
Right.
meetings. So you go to meetings, NA or AA or any?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah,
You know, even though I work in treatment, that's not my recovery. My recovery I work a 12-step program,
sure.
and I call my sponsor,
Good.
and I work steps, and I work a 12-step program.
Yeah, because it's different when we go to an NA or an AA meeting as someone's alcohol and drug worker, isn't it? Because we're not there really for us, we're there for them. We're doing logistics and things like that.
Hmm.
But when we go to a meeting ourselves, it's totally different because we're there, we don't have anyone to worry about, and we're there listening to the stories, we're rehashing the 12 steps in our brain, and we're going, yep, I've done that. Yep, no, I'm still there. Oh, I got to do that. I got to write that. I got to oh, maybe my amends is not quite, maybe there's still a few people that I'm got a bit of resentment for and things like that. So first prioritize sobriety, which you're doing. The
Right.
second is set a good example. And I think you already mentioned that every waking moment when you're home, you're always connected with both of
Hmm.
them, Chloe and Peyton, and you're always there. Give us some exact other examples of connection with your daughters that they love for you to do with them and that you love doing with them. Because they need
Um,
consistency. They need emotional support, don't they?
Most definitely, you know, and I knew that I had to work on Chloe the most because she got to experience the brunt of my addiction.
Yes.
Like I said, Hayden was very young, and she wasn't actually aware of what was really going on, but Chloe most definitely was. So I knew I had to concentrate more on and connecting with her on that aspect because, um, like I said, Peyton was too young. So what I did with Chloe was she is very nurturing by nature.
Mm.
She's always wanting to know how I'm doing, if I'm okay. If I come in the door with a frown on my face, she's immediately, "What's wrong, Dad?
Oh.
What's wrong, Dad?" I'm like, because I think a lot of that comes from what I did to her early, you know, without being there. 'Cause she had doubts, you know, and with all the broken promises that I gave her growing up, she's always she subconsciously still has those thoughts in her head that, hey, at any time this could go south again.
Uh-oh.
And so she's always worried about me and that's how I named my group Clean and Sober, That's What's Up. She would call me in my first 2 weeks of my recovery. I was at a halfway house here in the town I live in, and call me and ask me how I was doing. She had asked me, "Dad, are you clean and sober?" And I said, "Of course, babe." And she goes, "That's what's up."
Ah.
And that's how I named that group, and that's how. So Chloe gets all the credit to my Clean and Sober, That's What's Up group.
Yes, yes. How great is that?
But
Perfect.
you know, I'd like to answer your question though. How I've been able to connect with her, and what we do is that you know, me and her thing is she loves music.
Mm.
You know, she's a big iPhone person. Like she got me on the iPhone. I didn't have an iPhone until about 4 months ago. You
Oh,
know, and she
wow.
said, "You need to get an iPhone." So now we're iPhone buddies. We
Yes.
FaceTime. She always wants to FaceTime. You know, because she'd rather FaceTime than call me.
Yeah,
Um,
got it.
you know, she's very artistic. You know,
Oh,
her and her sister like to color and draw stuff together. You know, that's time with with Dad that we like to do that stuff together. You know, I
sure.
like to. It's just even though none of us are talking, we're sitting there drawing and looking. That's just we're bonding. You
Yeah,
know, and I find myself looking at them. They think I'm a weirdo for doing it, but you know, it means if it's a parent, you know what that means. You
yeah,
know.
for sure. Exactly. So, in your journey from boy to a guy and from a
Mhm.
guy to a man, can you
Mhm.
walk us through how you knew that you were not your boy self anymore when you're just kind of a little bit immature, you still like your toys, you're not really thoughtful, all of that, how you in your recovery, how you matured from being a boy to a guy first, and then let's talk about the guy to a man, and then from the man to a better man.
Are you asking me as far as in my recovery?
In your recovery, yeah, when did you mature and be more of a guy, not the man yet, but you start to notice the, you know, your immaturity, or perhaps your denial, or perhaps your stubbornness, or perhaps your coldness or thoughtlessness and things like that, because a lot of men
Wow.
out there think, you know, they're still in that boy stage, that playing stage, which sometimes
Mhm.
it's good, but sometimes the responsibility is not there yet. And
Right.
I think the journey to becoming a man is maturing from a boy to a guy, and then from a guy to a man. So how did you
All right,
mature?
that's a hell of a question. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess in my early recovery, I was in a halfway house for the first 10 months of my recovery. The first 10 months, I was in a halfway house, sobriety living house over here where I live, and I wasn't around the girls 24/7. Then, like I said, I was at this house, so I got to see them on the weekends and when I would go on passes. Um, so I guess when I really started realizing that I was maturing is when I started thinking of other people before myself.
That's the one. That's what we wanted to hit. What's the realization that you started to not be so self-centered?
Right, right. You know, I'm in my that was my biggest one of my biggest character defects in my active addiction was that I was a very selfish, narcissistic, vain person. You know, and when I was able to actually speak those words out of my mouth that hey, that's who you are.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
this is who you are. And when I was able to write that down when I was working my steps, you know, when I was doing my inventory, I had to write that on paper. And when you see it on paper and when you speak it out of your mouth, it makes things so much more real.
Yeah, cat's out of the bag. It's out,
Right,
yeah.
right,
And then you can work on it, because if you're denying it, there's no way you can work on it. Because
right.
walk me through some of the narcissistic things, because this is a big problem in relationships with women. They say, "Oh my God, he never thinks of me. He's so self-centered." Now that you think back on your own narcissistic traits, what were the main things that you called a defect, as you were saying before, that you realize is not the right thing? And how did you go about correcting these defects?
I mean, realistically, it's not good thinking to think that the world evolves around you. I mean, it's just it's not healthy for you personally. It's definitely toxic for anybody who's involved in your life.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
and that's why uh, yeah, that was I always thought that I in my active addiction I was always trying to get over on everybody in any way, shape, or form, and in any relationship that I was in. I was always making them believe that it was their fault. I was the way I was.
Oh God, yeah, no,
You know,
that's common narcissistic behavior. Yeah,
so
wow. And there was even this thing that I posted on my it was so deep, and it was a thing that I posted about narcissistic behavior, about this poem that this guy wrote about the behavior itself, and it is mind chillingly, like, scary how the mind of someone with narcissism works, because the whole everything that they do is centered around getting more and more and capitalizing more and more on the women in their life, making the women sound crazy, look crazy, making them feel a certain way, just so they can get them to work for them more, and to give them the attention that they need, because in a narcissistic kind of personality, one of the traits is you need to have, like you said, one over everyone, but in doing that you also need their undying kind of love and attention, don't you?
right. Oh, it's both exactly. I craved all the attention, but wanted all the blame to be on them as well.
Wow, wow.
And so that's like I said, from when I went from adolescent to into a manhood. That's when I knew that I was making that, or in my recovery, it's like aspect was when I started thinking, and it was actually literally overnight. It was like 4 or 5, 6 months clean, about 6 months clean, and I woke up one morning and I thought, I wonder what my kids need, and that was something huge for me because I never thought about anybody other than myself first.
Wow.
So when I started thinking about what do the girls need,
Yeah.
then I knew that, hey, there's something to this recovery.
Yeah.
Hey, there's something.
For sure, for sure. So here is that so I'm posting it on your wall. Oh, no, it's not coming up. That's no good. um
I see that thing you just means when a narcissistic says,
yeah, but it's not narcissist says I love you. It doesn't seem to be this link here, which is oh, here we go. Here we go. So this is a really chilling account. And the reason why we're going through this is because this is the growth spurt. And this is very important for the partner, not only the partner that's receiving the abuse from the narcissist, but for the narcissist himself to realize that there's something beyond themselves. That's the only point that they can graduate from being a boy, manipulative, into being a guy, and then from being a guy to being a man. And then once you're a man, then a man only wants to become better and better, right? They push
right,
themselves,
oh my,
right?
yeah,
That's the trait of a real man. Whereas it's not like that prior to that. But is it okay if I just read a little bit of some of the points in this poem that was written? Because
go
it's
ahead.
really, like I said, it's quite chilling. So when I say I love you, I mean that I love how hard you work to make me feel like you're everything, that I'm the focus of your life, that you want me to be happy, that I'll never be expected to do the same. I love the power I have to take advantage of your kindness and intentions to be nice, and the pleasure I derive when I make myself feel huge in comparison to you, taking every opportunity to make you feel small and insignificant, and make your desires small or uh, as an evidence that you're weak and feeble in mind and inferior to what I'll ever be. So can you see? So as you were saying, that's the kind of the underlying, and we get caught in that web, don't we? Like for you, it's not like
Yes,
you were really intentionally doing it until you realize you are,
right, right.
right? So
Most,
it's not like you're plotting in the corner when you wake up, what am I going to do to this lady?
right.
Or whatever to your partner, but it becomes that. Um, how does a man grow up to have this trait, do you think?
I don't, I mean, some of that might be actually hereditary itself, but I think a lot of the negative aspects that I carried into my adulthood came from my early childhood.
Sure.
Okay, like I
Before you
said, I
went
was in
into
a
foster care.
yes, I was taken out of a very abusive situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, and and that's I think a lot of the reason that brought me into my active addiction in my teens is because I had stuffed it away, I buried it away for many many years, and it didn't resurface until I was in my mid-teens,
Wow.
and when those feelings resurfaced, I didn't want to deal with them. The best way not to deal with anything is to numb yourself,
Wow.
and that's when the drugs became relevant in my life.
Do you know anything about your your biological father and mother? Were you ever told anything?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know my biological mother. I stay in communication with her still. Um,
Okay.
I've never met my biological father. I know I was born in California and I moved to Indiana when I was young because to get away from that situation. Um, and so I never really I never met him
Okay.
personally. Uh,
And the background was
Not good.
not good. Okay. Was he an
All
IV?
I know, all I know is he was a good looking guy. That's all I know.
Oh. Do you know if he was an IV user, or you don't?
I don't know if I don't. I think he was an alcoholic. I
Uh-huh.
think he drank a lot.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So turned around, started to. Do you think your children, Chloe and Peyton, played a big role in you wanting to change in the beginning? Were they the impetus?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You mean when I came into recovery?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, man. I had gotten my life to a point that yeah, between Chloe and Peyton and the relationship with my parents, those were the two driving forces that got me.
Okay. In
The
other
reason why.
words, if your parents and Chloe and Peyton weren't around, do you think you'll still be in addiction?
Most definitely.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
Most definitely.
so what do you think happens then for people that don't have a good emotional support network? What can they do on their own?
You know, I'm a firm believer that addiction needs to run its course.
Mm.
We might be able to put a wedge in it here and there, but I believe that it has to run its course.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people die before it runs its course. That's the realest thing about it. This disease is it's trying to kill us. It's trying to kill each and every one of us, you know. And I think that if you don't have that emotional support like I had, you know, or something that was I call it a driving force,
Yeah.
you know, I understood when I came into recovery that my recovery was gonna be about me first and foremost.
Yeah.
My recovery had to come before my own daughters, had to become before my parents, had to come before anybody.
Yes.
Because if I wasn't good to myself first,
Yeah.
I would never be a father to my daughters or a son to my parents.
Yeah.
So
For sure. Exactly. And when you are working, so you work at a recovery center?
yeah, I work for Boca Recovery Center. It's
Okay.
in South Florida.
Oh, how do you do that? Could I ask? When it's
How do I do what?
uh
How do I work there?
yeah. Yeah.
I basically, my job description basically is I help the people I help the people in Indiana, okay, to
Oh,
get to an amazing facility in South Florida.
got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So you see a youngish father,
Hmm.
and you see the tall, like you look at their kids probably around the same age as yours. You see
Hmm.
how unkempt and how neglected and how starved of emotional connection they are. How would you put aside this man of like what you were before you got clean? What kernels of wisdom would you give him? Or is it more you've got to be tough and actually call it like it is because the soft approach won't work?
Oh, that's both. That's the both. What you said, the soft approach does work
Okay.
because I'm gonna tell you right now how it works.
Sure.
Okay. Um, Love is such an abusive word in this world today.
Mm.
People like to scream love, 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 but they don't really mean it. Um,
Yes.
But when it comes to your children and when it comes to this disease, love is the only thing that's going to get you through either one of those two. Okay. Um, my best advice to a young father would be like this: uh, time is something you're never going to get back either.
Mm.
You know, I I got clean later in life. I was 42 when I got clean.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people, and I get envious, and I tell them all the time, I am envious of you 22 and 23-year-olds getting clean, because when I was 23, that thought wasn't nowhere near my thinking. You know, I was still running and gunning, and I didn't care. You know, but my best advice to a young father would be appreciate the time you have with your children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, take every day like it's the last day you're going to have with your child.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I live with Chloe and Peyton today, because you know we're not promised tomorrow. Okay, none of us are promised tomorrow. You know, I've already lost so many years with my children as it is. You
Okay.
know, I live my life today as a father. Um, you know, you lead by example. You know, and I want my daughter to look at me. You know, they say that the daughters look at you as an example of the guy they want to be having in their life later in life. You know, so I want to be an example of that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be an example because they're the loves of my life, and eventually these little girls are going to grow up and turn into women.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're going to go on and they're going to live their own lives. You know, away from daddy. As much as I hate to admit that, they're going to go on and live their own lives, and I want them to be to come to an understanding that their life has value. That as a woman, they are valuable. you know, and that they demand respect, you know, that men aren't going to walk over top of you, okay? That this is that, and they're not going to. And you know, my daughter today, my Chloe, she knows. You know, I tell her all the time, you know your value, right? She goes, oh, I do. I know my value, and I love the fact that she knows it because she is every bit of that, you know. And I don't. I used to be that guy that parents would warn their daughters about. I used to be that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I really did, and I'm just going to be very real. I was the guy that said whatever he had to say to get the daughter out of the house, and I was just a dirtball. Okay, I didn't have good intentions, and so when my daughter walks in the door with a guy, I'm thinking, okay, I remember when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, I had one thing on my mind: to lie to this parent and to get their kid out of this house.
Yeah.
So, you know, but not all kids were like Drew, and there are some good kids out there, and I have to take a step back, you know, and because I'm a very hovering father these days. That's what I didn't even know what hovering father was. I heard that statement about 2 months ago, so I was like, whatever. So I don't know. You know, my best advice is just like cherish each day like it's your last. You know, you're never gonna get this time back. You know, and raise your children and your sons and your daughters like you would, you know, to be, you know, we don't want to. My mom and dad, like I said, my adopted parents, they never wanted or expected that I was going to grow up and be the person I turned into.
Wow.
When it came to this. Okay.
Yeah.
I made a choice at 16 years old to get high.
Yeah.
You know, and in making that choice, it sent me on a downward spiral for over 25 years. Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't because of them. Now at 13 and at 5, my daughters looked at me for guidance. They looked to me for protection. They looked to me for the financial aspect, because girls are expensive.
Yes.
And especially when they begin their teenage years, they want everything.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest downfall, because I took, you know, for not being there for so many years, so I spoil my children today, and I'll be the first to admit it. You know, I have a problem saying no to my little girls.
Yeah.
And now they've taken that to the next level. They know dad ain't gonna say no. So I gotta watch that, because that's like characteristics of enabling.
Yeah.
And enabling is the worst thing any parent can do to a child.
For
so
sure. No, that's really good. Well, let's take a break, Drew, and if you can scroll down some of the comments, I think let's appreciate some of the listeners and say hi to them, and you know, see if there's any questions. Like Michelle Brandt. Oh, I just want to thank you. Reads your post every day, gives her hope, and you're amazing. Keep up the incredible work. You're truly helping a lot of people. Hey,
who is that, Michelle?
Michelle Brandt, right up the
Michelle
very top.
Brandt?
Yeah,
Okay,
BRANDT.
I appreciate it, Michelle. I mean, I love it all. I hear the word inspirational all the time, and it never gets old. You know, this is the reason why I do what I do.
Yeah.
You know, because the program I work only works if I give it away.
Yeah.
I give it away every morning and all day long.
That's
and
right.
I appreciate all the love and all the support, all the likes, shares, comments. You know, I keep them coming.
Yeah.
You know, and I can.
Yeah, that's right. Brian Morrison, 13 years sober and love it after being given 6 months to live in March 2005. You know Brian Morrison?
I don't know Brian. I got a lot of followers.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know personally. I don't know them personally. I know Brian from liking my stuff. So sure. Brian, I love you, brother. Congrats on that 13 years, man.
That's right. And a lot of people have shared it. A lot of people are really proud of you. Ruthie Gilmore, my daughters are going through that now because of their dad. I think that should be positive, I'd say. Sobriety is amazing. Needle is addictive. Oh yeah, right on. Like, I think the needle is the most addictive of all, isn't it?
Well, I'm a little biased in that situation. I believe it is, you know, because it kept me stuck for a quarter of a century. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Brian again. Yeah, you can have a look.
My daughters are going through. Ruthie, I guess my best advice for you, Ruthie, is that hang in there. You know, I mean, you're the one parent that's got it figured out, even though the dad might be in a bad spot right now. they're definitely going to need your guidance. You know, a lot of moms play mom and dad both nowadays. It's an unfortunate thing, but if they didn't have you, where would they be? You know, so just be blessed that you know that you have them, and just hope someday that he's going to grab a hold of this thing called recovery and figure it out for himself.
That's right. Colleen Griffiths had a question. Oh, sorry, Autumn Breeze. What's your greatest accomplishment in your recovery, Drew?
Oh man,
Lots, huh?
we're talking about it. We're talking about my daughters. You know, that's by far my biggest accomplishment. Gaining the relationship back with my kids, but not just gaining the relationship back with my kids. I would say, um, learning, you know, like we talked about earlier. I got the ability into understanding who they are as people. You know, understanding. You know, gaining. They always would be my daughters, regardless whether I was getting high or not. She was my daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that I got clean, I got to figure out who she was as a person.
Yeah.
I appreciated the time in it went into to figuring out this stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not about the destination, it's always about the journey.
Yes.
You learn it during the journey.
And you get to shape what
Yes.
her future looks like, because
Right. You know, we have a 10-year plan, we have a 5-year plan. You know, that's what I've been able to do with her, you know, because she's gonna go to college, she's gonna get a degree, she's gonna get, you know, she's gonna do the things that dad didn't do, because as parents we want better for our children than what we had.
yeah.
You know, and we always, I believe that my daughter would be a hell of an advocate, you know, for kids that have been through the same things that she's been through. You know,
Nice.
she's like me. She got a mouth that don't quit running. You know, she likes to talk, and I think that she would be a definite asset to the recovery world as far as the kids' perspective.
Wow. No, that's perfect. That's really amazing. Good, good, good. Um, oh, Father's presence. There's definitely a lot of comments there. Lots and lots and lots. Um, and I just wanna. So Alison Brown. Here we go. My son has his first child due in February. He is in full active addiction. He barely speaks to me, and the pregnant ex-girlfriend will not speak to him or myself. I pray he reaches out for help, that he'll turn his life around. He grew up without his father, who's an addict as well. I watch to inform myself. I share in the hopes that it'll reach someone in the need of help. Congratulations to you and all of your success. Any words of wisdom to Allison in this situation that
You know, I encourage every parent that reaches out to me, because I get reached out to more by parents than anything else. Okay, and their biggest question is, how can you help me save my child? You know, and this is the thing. I will tell every parent,
yes.
you do not have the power to save your child.
Wow.
You don't. You don't have the power to save your kid. Um, that might sound harsh. That might sound not. It may not be what you want to hear, but that is absolutely the truth. You know, you don't have the power, because if you had the power to save your child, you would have done it a long time ago.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but my biggest thing is that for a parent, I encourage parents to keep planting seeds.
Yeah.
And hope to one day one of those seeds is going to grow.
Yeah.
You know, my mom and dad planted them for years and years and years, and didn't take me till it took me a little bit longer than most, but you know, eventually something started to grow up there, and
Yeah.
it definitely blossomed into the person and into the man I am today.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's big. That's big. Now, what are some of the projects and some of the things that's in the pipeline for you, Drew? Anything you're working on?
I will be going down to West Virginia next week for work. I'm going to be going down there with my colleagues Rich Walters and Kalichi, Chad Smith. Love you, brother. Will Murado, love you, brother. Justin, I love you. Shay Dunn, love you. Chris Ferry, Ryan Montgomery, I love all you guys. That's my Boca family, you know. And I'll be going live this week, Wednesday, with our clinical psychiatrist from Boca Recovery Center, Dr. Allison Tarlow. That's coming on Wednesday. But next week, I said, like, we're going to West Virginia. They're having some big events down in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I'm going down there to show support to Rich and his cause. And then also there's another big event in Huntington, West Virginia, that I'll be going to while I'm down there. Just basically, you know, I get on their Facebook every morning and and share a little bit of my experience, strength, and hope that maybe that might be a day that somebody says I've had enough. You know, I've gotten to that point. You know, I'm no longer on the fence. I choose recovery. Uh, Hi, doggy.
Hello, doggy. I thought I'd share my little kid because I don't have kids, you see. Um, right. So do you, apart from the Facebook groups and work, are you planning on being like on the speaking circuit as an inspirational speaker? Are you planning to write a book? Are you
Oh,
do have your
that's all in the
podcast or
works.
your live?
I get told all the time. I get asked all the time, "Why aren't you wrote a book? Why aren't you wrote a book? Why aren't you wrote a book?" I have one in the works. It's coming. So people are watching. It's gonna be coming. It's happening. And then as far as speaking goes, I'm a talker. I've always been. I had a gift of gab since I was. My dad always told me I should have been a used car dealer.
Ah!
You know, so I and work has been encouraging me. Chris Ferry's like, get out there in your community in the surrounding towns and yeah, speak
Yeah.
because you have a gift. And
And
so
are you happy to help us out and get on the Kill Your Addiction show or join us in some of the work that we do here in Australia if we call on you?
oh, most definitely. I mean, I was looking at your page the last week or so, and I was looking through some of the videos you've done or some of the podcast stuff that you've done. You do some amazing stuff. You know, I'm a big fan of people, you know, who are doing it the right way. And you guys, even though I'm not familiar with how Australia works, but you know what? You guys seem to got it figured out over there, and I respect what you're doing. You guys are amazing group of people. It seems like.
Yes, and we can you believe I wrote my book Kill Your Addiction Before It Kills You, and I used to be in and out of psychiatric hospitals for in 4 countries 10 times. Can you believe that? And ex stripping in Vegas, sex work, all the fun stuff, all with the yakuza and the triad and all of that. And after putting all of that down, I'm now finishing on my way to becoming a doctor, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
submitting for examination on my thesis of how how recovery coaching helps people specifically with really severe and complex addiction issues. So, my
Right.
my two PhD supervisors are just championing me. They're just going, "Oh my God, we really want you to become a doctor because someone with your background really deserves that, that
Right.
place in the academic field so that they
That seems
can
like way too much school for me. I don't have the patience for that. Hey, I'm an addict. We don't have no patience at all. I tell you right now.
Oh, fair enough. But it does have its good things if I can get there, because then I can be an example to other people that might want that, because there
That's
could
amazing.
be nerd addicts out there that
Right.
want this
Right.
path. So well, that's it. It looks like time is approaching really fast. I know it's 11 p.m. for you, so I'm being very
Yeah.
mindful of the need to sleep, because I know you wake up pretty early,
Hey,
7
I'm lucky
a.m.
to get 4 hours a night, you know, because my phone rings off the hook. So that's what I do. I answer all hours of the night. So if anybody's watching me struggling, call me anytime.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. And Michelle Brown says Australia's so gorgeous. It'll be awesome if you get a chance to talk out there. Maybe Coaching with Substance or the charity that we have, maybe we can get enough like crowdfunding or something, and maybe we can get all you and Keith Campbell and Jason Rudine and all of these people that I've been interviewing on the Kill Your Addiction show. Maybe we can get you guys out here. So yeah, maybe that's a
I'd love to
project.
come to Australia.
Yeah. Oh, you
Yeah,
love it with
but I heard everything in Australia kills you. So I want to stay right in the city. I'm not trying to go out into all these big spiders and snakes and all kind of crazy crap you guys got going on over there.
Oh no, I know. Well, we had Keith Campbell just the week before last talk about how he started Sober and Serious. So I really want to have a
Yeah.
conversation with you about
Mm-hmm.
Clean and Sober. That's what's up, and some of the work you do towards that, and also the work that you do at Boca. So if
Yeah.
if you don't mind, definitely let's schedule another interview with you where we can talk
Awesome.
about other topical things that are out there that we can, munch on and give wisdom to a lot of people out there that are aspiring for recovery.
Most definitely. Anytime, we'll figure it out. You got my number and stuff. We'll make it happen.
Sure, I even got like Chloe's number, I think.
Yeah, you got Chloe's number
I'm
now.
like, Chloe, how's your dad going?
She's passed out over here. She got school in the morning. She should have been better 2 hours ago.
I know, poor Chloe. Okay, well, thank you. I really think that there was a lot of good, solid information there about being a good dad, the importance of being a good dad. We also went through the other topics like narcissism and why it's important for men to become a man. They must mature from being a boy to being a guy to being a man, and then once they become a man, they can aspire to be better and better. So
Most definitely.
I really appreciate it. I'm glad Shauna Beckers, she was going to co-interview you with me, but she's working tonight and it was just chaotic and she just couldn't get half an hour into to come into the show. But I'm sure the next time let's schedule it in. But it's been an absolute pleasure hearing you and getting your wisdom on things that I would know nothing about, like being a dad. And yeah, I look forward to interviewing you again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys for having me on.
No problem. See you guys then. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you guys that are watching, got something out of this. It's always a blessing and a pleasure to talk about being a father. It's the most important job I have today. Anybody, like I said, is out there struggling or is looking to somebody, you know, to make that step into recovery, to make that step into trying to be a good dad or trying to be a good mom, pick up the phone and call me. I keep my phone on 24/7. You can message me if you have to. If you feel more comfortable doing that, I encourage you to do that. Whatever it is that brings you to me, I'm going to take it. So please don't hesitate to pick up the phone. Tomorrow is not promised to any one of us. Like I said earlier, you know, I'm all about trying to build success stories. I want you to be part of that story as well. I appreciate you all tuning in tonight. I love each and every one of you guys' beautiful souls. So with that being said, you already know, plain and sober. That's what's up.